Hey everyone, welcome to this Insta Live with my friend from the Big Bear Yoga Company, Pete Donohoe. So I've just got to find him and then we'll get cracking on. I'm sure that everyone's like actually outside playing in the sun rather than inside watching Insta Live, but you never know. Here he is. So I'm going to try and invite you now. I've waved at you. Now I'm going to try and get you here. Let me see. Oh, good. You've sent me a request. I am going to, come on. I am going to, in about 2 minutes, you're going to pop up. 2 seconds, hopefully. Hi, everyone. Hi, Krishnadas757. Now, where are you? Let's see who else is here. Let's see. Go live with Big Bear Yoga Company. There he is. Hi, Holistic Heritage Northampton. Nice to see you. Hello, Krishnadas. Who else is here? Classical Life for Women. Hi, I've been enjoying your stuff. Right, let me try a different way. Come on, Pete, let me see. I've invited you. Right, I'm just going to try and get him instead of replying. I'll send you a request. Invite. He's trying. I'm trying to. Don't worry. We'll get you. There you are. You're
Yay! Here. Hooray! The wonders of modern science.
I know. It's never as straightforward, is it? So we've already got a few people here, which is really fun.
Fab. Hello.
So I'm going to wave at everyone. I'm going to try and wave. Oh, my sound's a bit wrong. Am I glitchy to you?
No, you look good. I'm going to be very wobbly because I've discovered that the microphone, I can only get it at the bottom of my screen. So I have to hold on to it.
Okay.
So,
well, it's nice to see you. It's nice to be on here with you. I can hear that I have got this really annoying delay thing, so I can hear myself. It's like having water in your ears. But as long as you can't hear that, that's great. But it might mean that I'm interrupting you sometimes. So this, everyone, is Pete, and he is a yoga teacher, and he did my training, which finished in October this year. It was supposed to finish in April. Last year. It was supposed to finish in April, but COVID thwarted all our plans. So the final part of it was in October last year. So you became a yoga teacher right in the middle of COVID. So very difficult time to try and, be a yoga teacher, watching all the yoga teachers struggle with the online world. So anyway, it's all a very strange time, but I want to tell you it'll all be fine in the end, and you'll work out the way that yoga takes you. Sometimes a yoga teacher training doesn't take you on the journey you thought it was going to take you on. Often that happens, actually. But I thought we'd get you on today because you're a great resource for mental health as well. So why don't you tell us who you are, what you do for your real job when you're not a yoga teacher. Tell us about yourself.
So my name's Pete, and what I do for a day job is I'm a mental health nurse, which I've been doing since 1987 for the most part. When I started the training, I was a community mental health nurse. So for most of COVID, I was allowed out and driving around, and I had papers like the Gestapo to go more or less wherever I wanted. And I lived in that bizarre world where no one else was, and was going in and out of houses. But it was quite a difficult time. We all caught COVID, or most of us, and it got better. And I've now changed my job. And what I'm doing now is I work with GPs. So anybody, literally anybody that rings their GP and says, I'm struggling with my mental health, they get referred to me, and I do what's called a triage assessment with them to work out what might be helpful for them.
Amazing.
And that might be medical model stuff. It might be that I think it's pills, or I might think that they should do some baking or join a class or do some yoga. But I do try and not suggest it to everybody because I might get done.
Do you have to are there like social prescription rules that you have to follow yet or anything like that? Because I know that they kind of brought that in, so you might only be allowed to recommend the teachers that are cleared with the NHS.
That basically, for therapists, in terms, so if somebody used the word therapist, they would need to be registered with the NHS because people are they're going to the doctor and therefore they expect a registered service, I guess. Yeah. But if I suggested a named individual, they would have to come for a list. Yeah. If I was to suggest that they did yoga, that would be completely okay.
Yeah. Okay. That's good. And what brought you to yoga? How long have you been practicing yoga? And why do you practice yoga? Why?
So I was on surgery list. I was on surgery list for a discectomy. And I saw another consultant surgeon who was absolutely lovely, who said, oh, what a load of tosh that is, you know. What you need is yoga or Pilates. Do the exercise when you're not in back pain. When you are in back pain, don't, and rest. Well, he was a genius, man. You know, this is my sort of surgeon. Don't take the scalpel to me. Send me to Pilates and yoga. So I started off with Pilates, and it was like Jesus touched me, to be honest. I could walk. It was like I could walk again. And gradually found my way into yoga, which is a complicated thing to walk into, really, unless you walk into the right class first time. And
tell us about that. Why do you say that? Because you're not 20 and young and female and skinny.
No, and I walked into power yoga, and I did it. And I did it a few times, actually. And bizarrely, I quite liked it. But people roared with laughter. I mean, they'd never seen anything quite like it, I don't think. Not in a cruel way, just in a like, my God. And they were all getting drenched. And then I found a hatha yoga class, and that was much, much more my style. And came and wandered in and out of it for a long time. Till about 3 years ago, I had quite a significant bereavement, in fact, a chain of bereavements. Took a bit of time out, had joined a gym and was able to go to a yoga class a day. And it was just brilliant. It was just so lovely to be quite sad and to be able to go somewhere where you could put your mat down and still be in a community, but they didn't have to speak. You didn't have to do anything other than occasionally move your arm or your leg, and that was really therapeutic for me. And yeah, so that's kind of where it goes.
So Lynn's just joined us on this Insta Live. Lynn, who trains with you. Yeah, Lynn is here. Hi, Lynn. And Mary joined. I don't know that person. Well, I might know you, but not by that name. I'm going to wave at you. I just wanted to say, anyone who's watching, if you have any questions for me or Pete, then please feel free to type them into the comments. And even if you're watching this on IGTV later, you can still write a comment and tag us on them. If you write a comment on the IGTV, I'll see it anyway. If you want to ask something specifically to Pete, you can tag at Big Bear Yoga Co. And we will attend to you at a later date. So it's really nice to see someone from your yoga teacher training cohort here. I did tell them that you were coming and that you were going to be really famous, because now we've got 4 people on the call. So you started going to yoga, and then you were able to go. It helped with your physical health, and then you were able to reap the benefits for your mental health in a grieving state, and you were able to experiment with doing it every day. Now, if I did yoga asana practice every single day, I probably struggle a bit physically. Were they kind to you and let you take any variations that you wanted? And or did you just do it how you wanted to?
I think to start with, I tried to do what they did, and I very much learned which classes to go to and which not. Um, then I discovered in one of a really lovely studio in Cheltenham, they do a 30 days for 30 quid pass. And that was really eye-opening, to try many different styles, but also walk into a studio where I would be like lying on the floor and somebody would just turn up with a prop and say, have you thought about putting this under your legs? Or what
Nice.
would this be like if you used this under your hands? And the world of props really altered everything, you know.
Excellent.
Um, and that was a really slow lesson for me. It was like I started off, if somebody gives me one, I'm allowed. And then by the time I finished your teacher training, which was all about accessibility, I'm now post-COVID, I'm wandering into a gym where everyone else seems to have just been at home doing nothing but weights for a year and a half. And I've either been at work or at home eating cake and have got bigger and lazier the whole time. And I'm walking in with a duffel bag full of bricks and blocks and several towels to stay dry, and just setting out my stall for as an accessible yoga person. And it no longer matters. It's like, I'm here to do my yoga, not your yoga. And that's where I am, I guess.
That is amazing. I'm so happy to hear that. I can imagine you doing that, and just, I'm so proud. I'm so proud. Just go
Well,
and you do what you need. So at what point did you think, I'm going to be a yoga teacher? I'm going to do this. And then, yeah, how did you set about finding a teacher training that would suit you?
well, it didn't come in that order, really. What I
Okay.
realized I wanted to do was delve deeper into yoga. And as I kind of talked to the teachers that were around, because I'm quite lucky that there's a lot of teachers around me up here. Right, I've never been just allotted one teacher. I know quite a lot of different ones, and they're all quite lovely and give me time, really. And it became
No.
apparent that what you do is you do your yoga teacher training,
Right.
because it doesn't matter whether you're you end up a teacher or not. That's how you delve a bit deeper into yoga, and then that kind of
Yeah.
gives you access to other courses that you might want to do, but it's helpful to have done the basics first. And I guess I was about 2 or 3 months in when it was like, oh, I could be doing this actually. And actually, there might be a place for someone who isn't a 25-year-old thin blonde woman. It might be helpful to other people who don't really want to go near a gym. Exercise isn't something they've always liked. Perhaps they were the kid that walked around the rugby pitch hiding cigarettes rather than playing rugby at school.
Is this
And
you?
that was me, yeah. And just needs to learn how to look after themselves a bit and do something nice for themselves without it being frenzied activity.
Exactly. And I think this is where like the crossover between yoga and mental health really comes in, because there are so many tools in yoga that to help you just be who you are, and help you with stressful situations. And you might not ever set foot in the door of a yoga class if it was all going to be how the media wants it to be, and how modern yoga would like it to be. You might never get those benefits. And there's so much in yoga that is comforting for mental health, and can kind of help us build resilience and help us through difficult times. Do you think your yoga practice helped you through? Because I know for me, and it wasn't necessarily asana practice that helped me through COVID, which means basically whole life change, financial worries, health worries. I didn't really have any health worries, but there's there were worries for my family. There were more about coping with change, like change that you have no control over. Having a loss of control over your life destiny that was all an illusion before. Of course, we learn in yoga, but now it's like really in your face. So I think, there's so much of yoga that is really necessary to help people through difficult periods. That, you know, and we're all like, if you are human right now, you are probably stressed and you're probably
Definitely.
going through some sort of anxiety at this time. So yeah, I can't remember what my question was, but just that's the crossover with the yoga, isn't it?
Yeah, so I mean, I think for us, being however far we were in, about 6 months in, I mean, I remember we went to we got as far as the opening of the third eye and walked down, and it was lockdown. It was like, oh my God, this is a powerful course. But I remember really clearly going into lockdown, and some kind of meme arrived on Facebook that said, from the yoga people, that said, if you can't go out, go in. And just
Yeah.
thinking, well, how lucky I am to be 6 months into a meditation course at this precise moment. I have learned how to be still. I better bloody well put that into practice now, you know, and found that, you know, as in nearly everyone who isn't trained in meditation, it's certainly in this country, it's like, oh, I can't meditate, my thoughts don't stop. It was like, well, I've got a chance to do it. And I found asana practice really helpful. I didn't do it every day. It definitely came in and out through lockdowns. There were times when I was like, come on, you need to do this every day. And there were times when it was all just too much.
Yeah.
But because I was on the YTT and had learned how to use YouTube and things like that, which I wouldn't have known to do before for yoga purposes, I
Yeah.
could hunt down, you know, back care, and I could hip loosening because I was sitting in a chair so much. So I would
Yeah.
just do hip work to loosen up my back. And I was still in agony a lot of the time, but God knows where I'd have been if I hadn't been able to loosen up.
Yeah. I think my, you know, Ginny, who was on the course with you, she
Yeah.
also said, you know, thank God we were on that course, because it actually gave me the tools I need to be able to confront this situation. It actually gave me the resilience and the strength. She was also facing it on, you know, living on her own. You know, we all
Yeah.
had different challenges, and I know, you know, for some people stuck at home with a partner or with a family, it was intense. But then, you know, there's the intensity of living on your own and being locked down. So, you know, everyone had their own sort of unique challenge brought to it. But yeah, thank God we had the tools, and that you'd been like diving deep, and you knew that it wasn't just asana. I remember speaking to you at some point during the lockdown, and you were like, oh, I'm done with meditation now. That's not what I need. I need to move my body. And I noticed the same. You know, there were times when it was just all meditation, like, this is what I need now. I need to sort my head out. And then there were times when it's just like, right, I need to do my yoga, asana. I need to move my body. And there were times when all I just needed was to walk around the park. And, you know, I came to value that as actual self-inquiry. That was the processing. That was like a breathing meditation. And then a lot of the times what I needed was yoga nidra, and just to go to sleep, just to, you know, really kind of help me process as I'm sleeping, rather than kind of make it this schedule, like, how am I going to deal with this? It was dealing with itself. And, you know, that's what I think, that's the lucky thing. You know, if you've learned all these tools, then you can actually pull them out when they're needed. So,
Yeah.
you know, there's just such a rich kind of variety of tools that you can use. And I try and kind of give you an insight, even journaling and self-inquiry, and, you know, just reading books that other people have written about yoga, just give you a different way of kind of thinking, and sometimes such a lot of comfort. I mean, this is stuff that was giving me comfort before anything like this happened, and it's like, wow, we're so lucky. And then, you know, the energy required to learn new skills and to up level and to, you know, get your shit together online. It's just like, for me, that was a huge challenge. You know, and then having to like walk other people through that, and, you know, I think there was a lot of sort of, if we were over 40, having to navigate online life, you know, when all the teenagers and the 20-somethings are just like, yeah, I'll just do it online. I'll just teach online. I'll just do all this online. It's just like, what do you do? What do I say? And, you know, that, for me, just being able to sit in that space, like, you know, the space of overwhelm, space of like, I'm going to get left behind, the space of how how, you know, do I really want to do this? Is it worth it? You know, and I think actually as an accessible yoga teacher, it was worth it, because the world of yoga on Zoom opened up to accessible yoga naturally, because a lot of people hadn't been able to go to classes anyway. And I know people that were suddenly inundated with classes that they could join all around the world,
Yeah.
that they were unable to join. And, you know, a lot of them were shielding anyway and couldn't leave. But, you know, that had been quite a small world. If you think of yoga studios, quite a lot of them are inaccessible. A lot of yoga is inaccessible that's taught. And so, you know, maybe they only had like a pre-recorded thing, or they had a book. And all of a sudden, the accessible yoga community had this huge amount of stuff. And so in the end, it's like, okay, you know, having to sort of get there for them, you know, kind of in the end, that was what dragged me. It's just like, okay, you just got to do this. But yeah, navigating all of that without the tools of yoga, what are you supposed to do? I mean, I know people can be naturally able to deal with situations who've never done yoga, and I love those people. But I think I would be...
I don't think anybody dealt with all this. You know, we all have come out having dealt with it. And, you know, as with all things, it once it's done, it's gone, isn't it? It's go, oh, that was all right. But I think most people had a bad time at some time in it, and have learned, hopefully, that that's okay. You can't not have a bad time sometimes.
Yeah, and do you think that it's gonna unfold more and more, you know, that the impact this has had? Because I think, you know, people think, oh, that was bad and now it's over. But I think there's going to be this residue that continues to come out of this kind of chronic low-level stress that everyone's been under. You know, I know that I was very strong for a whole year. And it got to about March, April, and it's like, I'm done. I can't, you know, it's my turn to break now. It's like, I need to go. Like, I've held people, I've held my family, you know, and it's going to be interesting to see that kind of long term. Do you think that we're going to see signs of, I know, you know, mental health providers are fully booked. You know, a lot of the counsellors have been booked for months. I tried to get a counsellor for someone I know, and it was like there's a 3-month waiting list, and you know, things are going to continue, I guess. Do you think, or do you think it'll just go away? And
I think it's different. I think what's different is people aren't used to trying to find a counsellor, and in this country that's normal. And if you're looking, saying counsellors and yoga teachers, therapists, it's all the same. You need to find the yoga teacher or the therapist or the counsellor that works for you, and that person's likely to be busy. If you know, if they're not busy yet they're out there touting for trade and everyone's going, oh no, I don't want that, you know. The counsellor's going to have a certain amount of sessions a week, and that's actually normal. What I guess I'm finding in my mental health clinic work is the symptoms. There's an awful lot of anxiety, a massive amount of agoraphobia. And I mean, how are you supposed to not be scared of going outside if you've just spent a year and a half sat inside with the telly going, don't go out, you'll die, you know? And that is one of the biggies we're working with. I think it's remarkable how resilient people are. A lot of stuff that's always been around for people is maybe more to the fore because they've had to stop and be solitary. And a lot of people need people around them to keep buoyant. You know, I'm one of those, you know, I like to be in a social bubble. Strip that away from me, life gets a lot tougher, really.
And I think, you know, Gabor Mate was talking about. Do you know Gabor Mate?
I know who it is, but that's
he's a trauma specialist, and he was saying at the beginning of lockdown, you know, people are used to having distractions from the stuff that's going on in their heads. You know, not dealing with their trauma basically over and over and over again, because there's, oh look, I can go over there, oh look, I can do this, oh look, I can buy that, oh look, I can go and have a drink with my friends. And so then you take all the distractions away, and it was quite amazing how much kind of unresolved trauma was coming up. And I found that with COVID, that was it was basically a lot of just anything that you hadn't really addressed. And it's not that you can address things and finish with them. There's, you know, they spiral around and give you more opportunities to grow. So I found that. And then I was in the pool this morning and I was thinking about resilience. Like I was in the sauna and this guy was like, I was like, I'm done, I'm going. And this guy was like, oh, but you should stay a couple more minutes and build up resilience. And I suddenly thought, I don't want any more resilience.
Yes.
I actually need to learn how to be softer.
Yeah.
And yeah, we're always telling people to build up their resilience and do yoga and it'll build your resilience. What about, you know, when we actually need to be a little bit less resilient because maybe we're using the resilience, you know, there's a time for resilience when there's, you know, you're in that fight or flight, there's nothing else to do. But then when the trauma is finished, you need to kind of learn that softness, you know? Yeah. So I was like, what do you think about that?
I think that resilience is the ability to cry, isn't it? It's not to be hard as nails all the time, because that actually doesn't work for many people, you know? You know, it's just not a healthy place to be. Resilience to me means I am going to keep going as long as I can, but I understand myself well enough to know that sometimes it's okay to go to bed for the day. I better not stay there for a week if I can possibly avoid it, but it's okay to rest. And that was a big message of yoga for me. I mean, I remember, you know, there was a lot of talk about resilience and muscle resilience and strength, and that way is great. But what I really learned from doing a lot of yoga is that it softened me, you know, as a human being and as a clinician, really. We can get really tough as mental health workers.
Right.
Because you hear a lot of stuff and you have to feed that back in not always the most positive ways if you're going to be honest with people.
Yeah.
But just feeling my shoulders drop and being softer. So, yeah, I think people think resilience is about being hard, and maybe it isn't. Maybe it's survival is where we've been, I think. How the hell do we survive it? The rug was pulled away. Nobody knew what to do. And in a lot of ways, I think it's been great for people because they have had to face their demons. Everything's come out the cupboards. And yeah, some people that hasn't, and we have enough time to work out what to do about it. Now, that's not great for everybody, you know, and, you know, having been a nurse through COVID, I know that there's some really very difficult things going on for people. But people are coming around and we're coming out of this, you know.
Awesome. All right, so let's talk about your yoga teacher training. Now, obviously, you learned to be a yoga teacher with the best yoga teacher training school in the world.
Certainly did.
No, you learned with us, and so why did you choose Shanti Centre Training School for this?
Well, I'd like to say I did lots of research, but actually, I chose 3 schools that were accessible. One was, I'm in Gloucester, so one was in Oxford, one was in Cheltenham, and one was in Bristol. I went to a class of the Oxford teacher, and she just didn't turn up, and everyone said, what's going on here? And I said, I know, it's because I'm not supposed to do this course.
Okay.
The Cheltenham one was full, so I said to my friend Lulu, who was literally that day flying out to Italy to do a retreat at Shanti Centre, I said, Lulu, this Steph woman, do you think that do you think she'd take me for the yoga teacher training? And she looked at me and said, oh God, yes. And so that was it. I remember sending you an email the next day or the day after that said, I'm a long way from doing a headstand. You know, I'm not in any way fit. I like yoga. Lulu's probably out on your terrace at the moment eating breakfast. If you want a reference, go and ask her. And that's how I arrived.
Awesome.
What really interests me about it, and it's very little to do with how fabulous your course is, but the job that I've just taken up, we have yoga for the staff. I don't have to teach it, but the teacher is the woman who took the last place on the course in Cheltenham, which is why I couldn't do that course.
Oh my God,
I knew you'd like it.
that's brilliant.
Hmm.
Wow, interesting, very
Hmm.
interesting.
Hmm.
Um, I remember all your emails are very apologetic, like am I really going to be okay? And I had other students like that as well, and I have them over the years, and there is this kind of, you book it on and you check in, is it going to be okay? I'm really not. Maybe I've got some physical limitations, and obviously I say yes. Then like time gets on, it's like, is it really okay? And I can feel like rising panic. And usually a few weeks before the course, quite a few people are getting in touch with me like, oh my God, what have I done? I've booked into a yoga teacher training. I'm fit. I've got physical disability, or I've got a mental disability, or I'm just losing the plot. This is so the wrong time. And I did feel that with you and with some of the other students as well. And I just, how did I make you feel? Did I make you feel welcome?
Yeah, I think that's what I didn't know about your course. And now that I know you and I see all your stuff and I read all your stuff, I think it's more obvious now. But and what I know now and I didn't know then is all about accessible yoga and how you teach it and your philosophies around it. But how it felt possibly at the beginning was that I was going to be a PE teacher, and in my life the like me and PE teaching is massively far away. If I maybe had thought, I think where I got to was it was thinking back to a time when I worked in a hospital donkeys years ago and they had chair aerobics. And yeah,
Right.
we were in our early 20s and still relatively fit and thought it was hilarious. Now I think chair aerobics is exactly what I want to be doing with my life when I go out. And certainly I'm more than happy to would be to teach it. And that's, I think if I'd known that about your course at the beginning, which is I guess what we're able to tell people now if anybody's interested, is this course isn't for, well, it is. I mean, if you happen to be 24 and fighting fit, you'll get a lot from it, because you'll be a fantastic yoga teacher who knows an awful lot of things that your colleagues don't. This course does that physical asana stuff, but it starts from a place where if you don't want to do that particular thing, you could sit on a chair or you could sit on a cushion or you can sit on your ass. It's up to you. And
Or
it's
go to
not,
sleep.
or go to sleep, which has happened in Steph's classes. We've had a good laugh about people while they're asleep. Steph hasn't; she would never do that. But and it's rather than if you're not able, it's if you'd prefer not to, and that's kind of the ethos of the training is how do we speak to people as teachers so that they feel safe and okay.
Yeah, and I think that's really what's really good about my course. But what I really love about it is that there is always a mixture. I do have young fit bods on the training, and their minds are blown away, and what they end up being is inspired by everyone in the room. Inspired by the diversity of bodies, mental abilities, physical abilities, the different things that come up. I mean, it is quite a transformational thing doing a yoga teacher training. However you do it, yoga is transformational.
Absolutely.
If you do delve in, and like you said, you don't have to be a teacher to do a yoga teacher training. You don't have to want to be a teacher. It is a really effective way of diving deep and doing 200 hours of deeper yoga. And it's not just going to be like 200 hours of a yoga class, because you get to do, you're obviously minimum level, you're going to read some books and read about meditation. And then optimal level is going to be accessible yoga nidra, meditation, pranayama, all of this stuff that I try and include as a diving board. And like you also said earlier, I try and make it so that it is like a diving board. You get this certificate that then you can use to specialize. I mean, a lot of people want to specialize. They want to teach meditation. They want to teach nidra. They want to teach, specific things like accessible yoga or yoga for mental health or chair yoga or pregnancy yoga or, women's yoga. And really, until you've got a 200 hour teaches you how to teach. And then you know, that is then your diving board. And so the idea that I'm trying to give people, and it's not always comfortable, you end up having to do things that you might not like and that you might never do again, but just to show that these things are out there. So a little bit of a little taster of all these different types of yoga and different nuggets and tools in the toolkit, so that then you can go and specialize. But it's all sorts, which I really like, and just being welcoming, you know, just teaching you how to be a welcoming person. I mean, they say about therapists is that actually half the time people aren't actually, I mean, in some level they are coming to you for the therapy that you're giving, but in so many more ways they come to you because of you, because of the space you hold, you know. And, you know, I know as a massage therapist, when you start, you're like really worried about timing, like your hands have to be touching that client for the hour that they've booked. But as you kind of, you know, work your way, it's like sometimes you know that you end 10 minutes early because you know that something needs to be said, or you know that they're going to need time transitioning off the couch and back out to life. And so you start respecting your time and your space holding more. And what I hope that I teach in the yoga teacher training is that space holding, like how to hold space, how to welcome everyone, how to make it more of a conversation and less of a lecture, and how to co-create a yoga class together, so that then you've got the skills to go really anywhere. You know, and sometimes you might need a little bit of extra training to kind of, you know, make it even more niche. But generally, you go in with an open mind, an open heart, and you say, what should we do? How can we yoga? Like, what do you need, basically? So I hope that came out. And so what do you think your favorite thing from the yoga teacher training was? I'm sorry I'm taking up lots of your time.
That's all right. It's like I've taken the afternoon off from outside life. This is my yoga practice for the day, and that's one of the things I learned. You have to do some yoga practice, but it doesn't involve standing on your head.
So what was your favorite thing?
I think I liked almost all of it. I think the bits that I didn't expect, really, I thought I was walking in to learn how to perfect warrior 1, 2, 3 and that sort of stuff. And then I found myself doing this chakra journey once a month and being expected to make altars. And I don't know what you can see behind. I mean, it's still there, you know.
It'll always be there now. You can alter wherever you go forever.
You know, the chakra work I found really helpful. It's deep therapy, isn't it? And relating that into yoga practice, and I didn't really expect it. And when I've talked to people who have also done their 200s and their 500s, it's like, you did that in your 200 hours. It's like, and that it was such an important bit of it. That was what we did on Sunday afternoons, or and it was so much about introspection and understanding who you are, which is where I like it from working in mental health and, you know, having to do so much of that anyway, but learning it from a different angle was really useful. Become obsessed with throat chakra. You know, it came up again a couple of weeks ago, and it's like, oh my God, I'm going to have to speak my truth again. Watch out, world. And I didn't expect that to be what I liked, because it's the things I went in thinking, well, that's a load, you know, I'll give it a go, but I don't think it's for me, to ending up, I think I better wear red today, you know.
I love that. I love that. Oh, thank you. Right, I've got one more question that my lovely friend Karina, who runs Sacred Space Yoga, she had written, because when I did the Instagram story that I wrote, ask me a question, and she did ask me a question.
Hooray.
She says, how can we, and she's really interested in mental health as a yoga teacher, because I know that often, I mean, especially in COVID times, a lot of yoga teachers have got into trouble for like, not diagnosing, but, you know, saying, if you're anxious, do this, and if you're depressed, do this, when it's maybe not always the right thing to do. You know, deep breathing can be great, but, you know, it can also be agitating. So I think, you know, being more respectful and kind of more trauma aware is really necessary. Like some of this stuff is really good, but some might, at the wrong time, the wrong place. So her question is, how can we sell the benefits of yoga for mental health without stepping over any boundaries?
Okay. Well, I think there's sales and there's boundaries there. Sales I'm not great at, but I do think I still live in the world of posters, really. And I know nowadays that's an Insta or a Facebook post, but if you just let me think of it as a poster, I think the words that we use are really important. And presuming that people know what you mean when you write vinyasa flow is quite a disaster. It's like, now I know what most of this stuff means, but when I turn up it doesn't mean that. But some people, their mental health, everyone has mental health, you can't not have it, and each of us benefit from different things, and I think that Ayurveda stuff with our, is it doshas? So I'm very much a slow person, so I should be prescribed quite a fast yoga. But some people walk into the room and really they need to be kept busy. Other people really feel that they want to do it, what we would think of as a yin class or a restorative, and let them know that in your advertising. So, if you come, this will be a very relaxing, quiet, calm class. Some people with anxiety, that's exactly what they need. Other people, it would be terrifying. They must be kept busy. So if you can just tell them before they come what they're going to get,
Yeah.
and you keep away from jingo or psychobabble, as it's called in mental health, that's just a load of nonsense words. I think because
Like what? Like what? Tell me some jingos.
even like Ashtanga, um,
Right.
you know, um, these are really important words if it's your model or if you're into the yoga world. If you happen to be depressed and what you need is just someone to put out a hand and say, this is a safe place, you are welcome here. These are the sort of just warm, caring words that say, you'll be looked after here. No one's going to hurt you.
Yeah.
Because you don't get many words on a poster. So it just says, if it just says yoga for the knackered, or, whatever it is you're offering, if you can just maybe ask your hunters, what is it that you come to my class for? Have you got a few words? Advertise as that, and people that are going through a tough time, if they're the words that resonate with them, they'll come in. I also
Brilliant.
think what's great about yoga for me is the mat. When my time have been tough, you walk in with your own little universe, and that's like your safe place, and there's not many places you can go where you find community, but it is entirely optional if you speak or not. And that's the real gift of yoga and mental health is you go in, you've got your space, and generally people kind of notice whether you're someone that wants to be spoken to or not today. I've really noticed that. Sometimes I can walk into class as a punter and do my yoga and come out again, and the teacher will have probably just made eye contact with me. I exist. If you're down and you live on your own, someone needs to tell you that you exist, but they don't
Yeah.
necessarily have to meddle with you.
Yeah.
And also I think that the stuff that's coming in from trauma-informed yoga is really helpful in terms of check before you assist. This is so
Yeah.
important. And again, that was huge in your training. you
Yeah.
know People may be going through all sorts of stuff, and touching them may or may not be okay. And it may be okay at the beginning of a class, it might not at the end. And Steph is obsessed with this in training. If we were to assist somebody without permission, it would be noted. And that's really important. It's like mental health is about feeling safe, if nothing else. If you can get someone to come in and leave after an hour, that I always like the meaning of the word therapy is to do no harm, and if people come in and you do no harm to them, you're on the right track. You know, they'll come back.
Yeah, and that is the meaning of yoga. The first precept of yoga is doing no harm as well. You know, that's our kind of ethical need. I've got a little message from Lynn here. Let me see if I can read it. Why can't I read it? I'm going to, let me see. She says, another teacher of mine says a yoga teacher is no more than a friend. When I think of my friends and their nurturing, and their nurturing, I can see that in this mental health conversation and what Pete is saying. Lots of hearts. Thank you, Lynn.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Lynn. Love you.
we love you, Lynn.
We do. Thanks for coming.
Yeah. All right, so I'm going to wrap it up here. I've taken up enough of your time. Thank you so much. And I think this crossover of mental health and yoga will continue to be really interesting. And I love that you came on my yoga teacher training. I love that you're a yoga teacher, not teaching yoga just now, but I also know that you are going to get pulled back in. It's like the good fellow, what is it, that like just when I thought I was out, they pulled me back in. And that has been my experience as well. When I've ever tried to run away from teaching yoga, I thought I'm not good enough, or I'm, at the moment it's all like too white and too middle class, and I'm not doing the right thing politically and not fighting for justice, or I'm just not good enough because I don't do enough yoga. And I just think, right, that's it, I'm not doing it, and then you get pulled back in.
So, I guess what I haven't told you is I'll try not to keep talking because now you're trying to go, is there is this week, there's my big crossover between yoga and mental health, in that the IAPT team, which is the cognitive behavioural therapy wing of the NHS, everyone's been stuck in a chair for a year and a half. So I'm teaching on their away day over Zoom how to be on the phone. I know, I've got my boss, I've made him hold the camera for me. So I'm doing a half-hour chair yoga on how you can be on the phone, on headphones, and move your spine, shoulders, and neck to relieve pain. So I'm doing like chair yoga for while you're doing CBT, cognitive behavioral therapy. So the Big Bear Yoga Company does do little bits here and there just to keep it going and keep it practicing.
And you will for years to come. I know.
I can't help myself.
Oh, thank you so much, Pete, and we hope to see you again. And Pete is at Big Bear Yoga Co. Not much on there because he's learning, and we're going to keep him like in the game. But you're on Facebook, and you're just a great guy, and so look out for him. And thank you so much, Pete, for joining us. And see you soon.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you.
Bye, love. I'm going to try and stop now.
I know.
Never know how to stop. Okay, end video. Bye.